Hey Mom Talks, and welcome to the first episode of Mom Talk Lunch Bunch. This is going to be a fun set of videos where I just pop on whenever I feel like there's something that we need to talk about, whether it's something I saw in the group or something I saw in messages that warrants discussion that could benefit everybody. And I'm just going to keep these short, sweet, to the point, and as informative as possible. Now, it's come up to me a couple of times, like whether you should buy a full frame or a crop sensor and what you should really consider when you're making this decision. And really, we need to start off this entire discussion by talking about what we mean when we say full frame. Now, what we mean by full frame cameras is back in the SLR film days, the rectangular area where the image was captured had a standard size for all cameras, and that size was 24 millimeters by 36 millimeters. So when we're talking full frame cameras, we're talking about a sensor that is roughly the same size. It's going to read 24 millimeters by 36 millimeters. And when we're talking about crop sensors, we're talking about a crop factor, or what amount of that 24 millimeters by 36 millimeters is the camera throwing away. All this is just, you can think of this crop factor of exactly like when you go to crop an image in Photoshop. It is what you're throwing away. And now they vary greatly from camera manufacturers, and I'm just going to talk about Nikon and Canon. Nikon has a crop factor of 1.5x, and Canon offers 1.3 and 1.6x. So let's just pretend that this sheet of paper, the entire white area edges, is the full frame, 24 by 36 millimeters. 1.3 might look something similar to this, 1.5 like this, and then 1.6 down there in the middle. So as that second number gets bigger, we're actually getting a smaller and smaller and smaller frame. So that's something to think about when you're looking at the crop factor of whatever crop sensor you might be considering purchasing. Is it compared to the full frame? This is what your image is actually going to be, and this is what your image is actually going to be. That's what the camera sees, essentially. Now, the advantages to a full frame camera don't just have to do with the amount that the camera sees, that nice big picture. The advantages really have to do with image quality. Even when full frame and crop sensors have the same amount of megapixels, the full frames are still going to produce a better quality of image. And this has to do a lot with the quality and size of the different mechanical components that go into the DSLR cameras, the prisms, and all of that. It can get very technical very fast, so I'm not going to go into all of that with you right now. They also tend to have higher ISO capabilities and are better in low light situations because of it. They also, because you're getting that nice bigger frame, have a better wide angle range, and they have better wide angle adaptability, meaning that you can use wide angle lenses with much less distortion compared to their crop sensor counterparts. Now, the disadvantages when it comes to full frame are really that they're much bigger and heavier, like much heavier and much bigger. And they are much, much more expensive. I mean, you are talking about thousands of dollars of difference when it comes to a full frame camera versus a crop sensor. Now, my advice when it comes to what you should buy comes down to two factors that you need to think about. You need to think about where you are in your photography journey and if you have mastered the basics, and you need to think about your budget. Budget is key because full frame cameras are much more expensive. You can buy a great DSLR camera that is a crop sensor that is going to produce high quality images and going to have great low light capabilities if you know what you're looking for when you're shopping for it. My recommendation is if you haven't mastered the basics and you don't have a budget, then you need to get a DSLR camera that is designed for that growing photographer, and there are some out there. My personal recommendation and my personal favorite is the Nikon D5300. This camera is a powerhouse. It's got a great processor in it. It really, really does have great ISO capabilities and does great in low light. And it's really, really powerful for a crop sensor camera. I really, really like that camera a lot. It really, really would serve you well. And well, I think, my advice is always get the best that you can afford. Your camera body, as far as crop sensor, full frame stuff, really matters less with the quality image output than your quality glass does. So if you can't afford to get that full frame body, then get a quality crop sensor body like the Nikon D5300. It's about $400 on Amazon for the body, and then invest your money in that quality full frame glass. Master manual mode, master exposure, master natural light, and learn all of those things before you upgrade to that full frame camera. And then when you upgrade to the full frame camera, you'll have all the glass because you've invested all your extra money as you could into that glass for the 5300. And then you've got a solid backup camera and a full frame. That's what I did. It was best for my family's budget, certainly. And the other thing to consider when you're shopping is if you're going to get a crop sensor, make sure you get one that is going to allow you to do everything you need to do. You need to have a crop sensor camera that is going to allow you to put in a hot shoe flash. That enables you to use off-camera flash as well. You need one that does manual mode where you can adjust exposure compensation value. You want to be able to maybe do some bracketing of exposure and those sorts of things. If you have any specific questions, put them in the comments. My kids are needing me right now, so I'm going to run. I hope that this was really informative and helpful for you guys. And again, happy Monday. Enjoyed this lunch bunch, and we'll be back with another lunch bunch another day.